Our lead story of the day is regarding the drone strike that happened on the Kremlin the other day, and we're going to break down everything we know so far. But before we jump into anything, as always, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. The question of the day for the comment section is, do you think it was the United States? Was it China? Ukraine? Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. So, as many of you have heard, there was a drone strike on the Kremlin, and now they're blaming the United States. But we're going to go over this whole murky situation in terms of what we actually know so far. And we got some video footage for you as well. So, the tight ring of security that surrounds the seat of the Russian presidency was punctured in dramatic fashion by what appeared to be 2 attempted drone strikes in the early hours of Wednesday morning. But until the Kremlin actually chose to publicize the whole incident, around 12 hours later, social media footage of the incident had gained little attention. Why Russia decided to reveal the security breach is literally unclear to everybody. But in a 5-paragraph statement on Wednesday, the Kremlin made the incendiary claim that the incident was an assassination attempt launched by Ukraine on the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And then you obviously had the Ukrainians say it wasn't us. So what ended up happening was Kyiv was bombarded with missiles in the hours following Russia's claims, in keeping with Putin's historic willingness to strike Ukrainian cities after any alleged act of basically provocation. So many details about the incident literally remain murky. Nobody really knows what the hell's going on, including John Kirby in the United States, which we'll get to that footage in just one moment. But I want to show you the footage, and then we'll kind of detail what happened and then what kind of everybody's saying out there. So here's the footage itself of the drone strike. Let's go ahead and roll it. Got the drone flying over, and boom. It's like a little pop. I mean, I've seen bigger explosions from Disneyland fireworks than what you just saw on your screen. For those that are listening, it was a little pop. Okay, it was like a firecracker went off, like an M80. So they're gonna call this an assassination attempt. Even Putin wasn't even in the building, and they're gonna try to blame the United States for this, which is silly. You think we wouldn't know if the guy was in the building or not? And by the way, if we wanted to blow the building up, that building would cease to exist. But it was a little pop. So what happened? The video actually doesn't show everything, folks. So I'm gonna tell you what other videos show that are circulating around the internet. Moscow said the alleged attack took place in the early hours of Wednesday. 2 unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, were intercepted and supposedly destroyed before they caused any damage or injury, the Kremlin said. The Russian president was not in the building at the time, according to Kremlin spokesperson. Videos then emerged on social media appearing to show the incident. CNN analyst of these videos supports Moscow claims that there was in fact 2 drones that were flown above the Kremlin. A video that appeared to show smoke rising from the Kremlin surfaced on a Telegram channel at 2:37 a.m. local time on Wednesday. The first reports of the incident citing the Kremlin came via Russia state media around 2:33 p.m., around 12 hours later. Well, shortly after the media reports started coming out, another video appeared to show the moment an apparent drone exploded above the Kremlin, being circulated widely on social media. In that video, it seems to fly towards the building's domed roof, followed by what looks like a small explosion. In this video, 2 people appear to be climbing on the dome holding flashlights and can be seen ducking down just before the moment of the explosion. The people climbing on the dome are not present in the first of these videos, but appear in the second, suggesting they were responding to the fire caused earlier. And again, if this was really an assassination attempt, you think that we wouldn't have gotten the guy or made a bigger explosion? It's nonsense coming from the Russians. Now, was it the Americans? Was it us? I have no idea. And neither does John Kirby. So who's saying what here? Well, let's hear John Kirby's short response. It's a 10-minute video, but I'm only going to play a little bit here of John Kirby talking about the drone strike on CNN. Let's go ahead and roll.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby. John, thanks so much for being here this morning. What's your response to Russia claiming that it's actually Washington who is behind this drone attack, saying essentially they tell Kyiv what to do?
There's a word that comes to mind that I'm obviously not appropriate to use on national TV. I would just tell you Mr. Peskov's lying. I mean, it's a ludicrous claim. The United States had nothing to do with this. We don't even know exactly what happened here, Caitlin, but I can assure you the United States had no role in it whatsoever. And again, just to be clear, and I think you covered this at the beginning, we neither encourage nor do we enable Ukraine to strike outside Ukraine's borders.
Do you have any information that might indicate who was behind? No, the drone strikes.
No, we don't, Poppy. We really don't. I mean, we're trying to learn more about this best we can, but we honestly just don't know what happened here. I think here's another thing.
I just want to pause it here because I'm not sure if I believe John Kirby. It is interesting to me how much this guy or our military doesn't know about things. If you look at the Chinese spy balloon, oh, what's that? No, we're gathering intelligence. We don't know what it is. And you have like 3 other unidentified objects flying around the United States. No intelligence on that, by the way. Just knows nothing. Still don't know anything to this day, by the way. Even though we shot it down. Still have no clue what it was. What else? Heck, you have the other shoot downs that took place. You have other issues that are going on around the globe that he still can't give answers to, by the way. He was even questioned on the White House press briefing from yesterday. And the reason why I'm not covering it is because he's saying, we don't know anything. I don't have any answers for you. And somebody literally asked him, well, do you think at any point that we would actually have answers? He literally shrugged. He didn't actually say anything. He just goes, huh. That's the type of information that's coming out of this Biden administration. So I'm curious, do they really not know anything? Or do we actually know a lot of things and we're just not saying?
Thing that happened, though, Poppy.
Sure.
In just the last 48 hours or so, Mr. Putin has continued to rain down on Ukraine cruise missiles and drones and conducting other kinds of airstrikes. And just yesterday killed 23 innocent civilians in a residential complex that they hit, likely intentionally. So that's also what's happening. And I think we can't forget that.
Are you saying that you think this is a pretext by Russia for those actions?
No, I'm not saying that. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
It's not as if just back up even longer than 48 hours ago. He over the course of the weekend, Mr. Putin was flying cruise missiles and drones, hitting civilian infrastructure and targets throughout Ukraine. It's not like he's looking for an excuse to continue to try to find ways to kill innocent Ukrainians.
Given all of that, Kirby, do you see Putin as a lawful and legitimate military target?
Look, we don't we don't endorse strikes on individual leaders. Mr. Putin is the aggressor here. His forces are in Ukraine illegally. And
We kind of do. We've taken out a lot of people. We've taken out a lot of leaders in our time as a country, and we're really damn good at it. But so that's what Kirby's saying. And the Kremlin first blamed Ukraine, as we mentioned, describing the purported drone attack as an attempt on President Vladimir Putin's life, which is nonsense. I mean, the guy wasn't even there. I mean, everybody that saw the footage just now, we've created bigger firecrackers in our streets on 4th of July than what we saw in that videotape. It's a little bit silly. It's theatrical. So in a statement, the Kremlin said, we view these actions as a planned terrorist attack and assassination attempt. Maybe a terrorist attack, but assassination attempt. Come on. Adding that Russia reserves the right to take countermeasures wherever and whenever it deems appropriate. And that question kind of got brought up in the White House press briefing as well. And obviously, John Kirby didn't give a response to any of it. He just gave some cockamamie response about them killing civilians and all those other things, which is a good response to give because it's not a good thing. But we're unsure if there's going to be a proportional response. And that was the exact phrase that was asked in the White House press briefing. Do you think there's going to be a proportional response? He gave some cockamamie response. It wasn't even worth covering here on the Ball Brad Show. So on Thursday, Russia also then claimed the U.S. was involved in the attack. So it's like throw the dart at the board and just hope you land on something. Undoubtedly, such decisions, the definition of goals, the definition of means, all this is dictated by basically Ukraine and Washington. And that comes from the spokesperson of the Russians. So both allegations drew sharp denials, as you can imagine, from the Ukrainians and Washington, as we just saw from John Kirby. Quote, we don't attack Putin or Moscow. That comes from Zelensky himself from the Ukrainian side during a news conference in Helsinki on Wednesday. Quote, we fight on our territory. We are defending our villages and cities. We don't have enough weapons for this. That's why we don't use it anywhere else, Zelensky said. We didn't attack Putin. We leave it to tribunal, which you almost want to say that he's telling the truth because everything that's going on, you think the guy would be stoked about hitting Moscow in the Kremlin, like getting within their security defenses and doing something like that, like you'd be boastful about it. So I don't know who it was, and that's why that's the question of the day is, do you guys think it was the United States? Do you think it was the Ukrainians? Do you think it was maybe China or Russia themselves to trying to provoke something more serious to get them to do something stupid and kind of say, hey, they attacked themselves, something small. They go, look what the United States did. We're going to retaliate and do something to them, and that could cause, an escalation. So we're also looking into, well, who else could be responsible? Again, that's why we asked that question. So if Ukrainians weren't the perpetrator, one possibility is that the incident was the work of the Russian partisans, as claimed by former Russian lawmaker linked with the militant group in Russia. I mean, it came from inside. You have one of the Russian lawmakers telling Matthew Chance of CNN that it's one of the Russian partisan groups, adding that I cannot say more as they have not publicly claimed responsibility. And these are people that are coming from the inside of Russia again, and talking about kind of the connection between basically Ukraine and Poland. There's nothing much there to really add anything to. So kind of the other question we have to ask ourselves here, I know the segment's going on kind of long, but it's important to kind of throw everything at you all at once. Well, what happens next here? Like what's going to go beyond this? One route we don't know, but some people are saying that Moscow has already launched a wave of missiles in Ukraine, and they moved the line with its playbook after previous flashpoints in the war, and messages written on Russian drones launched overnight read for Moscow for the Kremlin. So they're definitely retaliating. We're going to see what comes of it. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what Putin does. We'll see what lies are spread. Maybe the U.S. is lying, folks. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not us. I don't see what we get out of this. And again, I think if we wanted to make a statement, we would do a lot more than just a small drone strike like that. So I am really curious on what you all think about that. Given the evidence that you were just provided, do you think it was us? Do you think it was the Chinese? Do you think it was some militant group in Russia? And if this is a militant group, they got their hands on a drone. How'd they get their hands on a drone? I understand there's black markets out there. Curious to hear from your opinions, folks. Curious to hear about it in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.